Twin Valley Locker Room Show brings you inside Clay Center Tiger Powerlifting. The Twin Valley Locker Room Show is powered by Pulse Internet. All your devices, one superior connection. We're joined by Kaylee Hartner and Garrett Craig, two powerlifters that have reached their senior season. And tell us about what the season's been like for you, coming out of football and the lead in Footloose and a busy FFA season, and now do you have a little downtime right now?
A little. I've started some college classes, so that's going to take up quite a bit of time. But no, it's been good to a few Saturdays of the year go and do some powerlifting meets. So yeah, it'll be good.
How many events have you been to so far this year? Do you know?
We've only been to, well, the team has been to two. I've only been to one.
Okay. You went to Royal Valley then?
Yes, and I got second there in the men's 198 division.
Awesome. Kaylee, I know you just come off of a championship this past weekend at St. Mary's. Talk about winning the overall first place, and I guess your season up to now too.
Last week was it was a smaller one than Royal Valley. So I only had 6 girls in my weight class, including me. So, I mean, they were good competition, but in some events I did a lot better than I was expecting. Good.
So you hit some PRs maybe?
Yeah, I got a new PR on bench and a new 1-rep PR on clean.
Awesome. Royal Valley, you competed there as well. Talk about that meet.
That meet, I was really nervous going into it since we hadn't been into one, and I hadn't lifted very well the week going up to it for myself, and so I was really nervous, but I competed pretty well.
Good deal. Kaylee talked about being nervous in that first meet. Anytime you go into a sporting event, there's this adrenaline and nerves, or however you want to handle it. What is it like compared to, say, taking a football field where you got a team trying to march down the field or stop somebody else, to going out and really being on your own with the weights around you? What's that feeling like?
Yeah, it's intimidating because, like you say, there's nobody, unless you have somebody from your school who's in the same weight class as you. There's nobody there from your own school. But before long, starting at the beginning of the day, you start talking to the other kids in your weight class, and you make friends with them, and so it's not as bad towards the end of the day. But definitely being the first meet of the year and not having a competition like that for a long time, I get more nervous about the facilities. We clean looking into a mirror, and a lot of these places don't have any mirrors, so it's just kind of doing it blindly, which that makes me a little nervous. So
well, I'm guessing it's because you're working on your form by being able to see yourself, right?
Yeah, and not being able to see yourself, you just trust that you've lifted enough and practiced your form enough that you are able to do it correctly. So
same type of thoughts, Kaylee, as far as you mentioned being nervous in that first one and then still performing very, very well, hitting PRs this last week and taking first place overall. Are those same type of thoughts?
Yeah, for the most part. I normally worry about I normally try to use a bar pad, but the past 2 competitions we haven't been able to. And that was a big change for me. I had bruises on my neck, so that was my biggest worry for the most part.
Yeah, I can imagine. Talk about what's to come for the season for you guys. I think a couple of more events before state, which will be here in Clay Center once again. Talk about what's coming up for you guys, or is there actually, this is a better question, I think. You guys have both talked about changes. The bar pad for you that you didn't get to use, no mirror for you. Is there a place you guys go to that you like to compete at more than others, and you can't say Clay Center?
I really like the Royal Valley meet as well as West Franklin, just because West Franklin, I've been to that meet more than any others. And also Royal Valley, I feel like they have it really set up and spaced out besides their squat. Very good. Garrett?
The nicest facilities we've probably ever been to is the Baser-Linwood meet in Kansas City. But there's 2,000 lifters from across the Midwest at that one, and so that's a little intimidating. Like Kaylee said, Royal Valley's nice to go to, even though they don't have mirrors. It's still really well organized. And West Franklin, that one lets junior high kids compete, and so it's a lot more relaxed. And instead of everybody, Baser-Linwood, the team isn't there, which is also kind of nice. But no, that one's a good one to go to, just for some kids get their feet wet and compete well for those who are more veterans.
Talk about the state meet, maybe for people who haven't been, who don't really understand what this whole power. I still think there's people that don't get what the competition is really about. I mean, they know the kind of the different lifts and things of that nature, but explain to our viewers maybe what that state championship Saturday is like, because I know it's a big one for you guys. Yeah,
we host the state meet here in Clay Center, so anybody who's probably not in state basketball, because it's the same day as state basketball, from across the state in 4A can come in and lift and compete for the state championship in Clay Center. And so that's 3 lifts, the bench, clean, and squat, and each person has 3 attempts at each lift to lift as much total weight as possible. So they score it kind of almost like wrestling. You get points for placing, and then there's an overall team winner. And Baser Linwood, I think, hasn't lost for 6 or 7 years, the state title. So hopefully we can make a run at them, get enough guys in, fill the different weight classes. So it'll be good. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Kaylee, last year I remember you talking about going to state, into the state meet and some of the goals that you had. Mm-hmm. Same type of goals this year. I know we were talking with Coach Rice a little bit ago before coming on camera, and he said your weight class was loaded last year, and maybe this is the year it opens up for you. Are you excited for the chance to maybe bring home a state title?
Yeah, I'm super excited. My bench max now is 5 pounds over the state record, so I'm hoping to maybe set that for myself. And I know like 2 or 3 really, really good girls in my weight class. They graduated last year, so I'm looking forward to them not being there.
I can imagine so. Well, good luck on getting that done. Garrett, have you looked at your weight class or have an idea what's coming at you?
I'm the only kid who's beat me is from St. Mary's, and he's 3A, so he wouldn't be at state. But you can always count on teams who maybe either their kids are wrestling or playing basketball, so they don't make it to very many meets, or they're a long ways away. Like we get Scott City comes all the way from Western Kansas, so you can always count on kids that you have no idea what they've been doing. So I weigh about 197 pounds right now, and for state, I'd like to weigh about 181 pounds. So that way I can be in the 181 weight class.
And when is state?
March something.
So you think you have time?
I think so. I'm still young. I can lose weight pretty quick, I hope. Even if it's within 5 pounds, I can always cut 5 pounds pretty easily the week of. So.
All right. Well, you won't see him at the dinner table much, I'm guessing, the next month or so. Guys, really appreciate you sharing with us about Tiger Powerlifting. Best of luck in the meets to come, and especially state championships here in Clay Center. Tiger Powerlifting in the Twin Valley Locker Room Show. Back with a look at Tiger Powerlifting on the Twin Valley Locker Room Show, and joined now by the head coach, Todd Rice. Coach, it was fun to hear Kaylee and Garrett kind of share about their experiences of powerlifting, what they found fun about powerlifting, and the excitement they have about what's still to come. Talk about the group that is involved in this. It's not a consistent group because of the sports, as Garrett mentioned, but kind of talk about how this thing works.
Yeah, it's just kind of an opportunity for student athletes to have something to compete and motivate them through the winter months. And some of our athletes compete in basketball or wrestling, and other athletes don't go out for any sports, but find that they like to train, and just gives them a way to compare themselves against others, and also just a great way to stay motivated through the winter.
Talk about some of the competitions. You've had some bigger ones, Royal Valley, a little smaller one this past weekend, St. Mary's. Both can be very good for your athletes.
Absolutely. You get to see a lot of different kids, and that's one neat thing is athletes go to this and they're competing and they get after it, but you also a lot of times you need an athlete from another school to be a spotter for you. Royal Valley, Garrett ended up spotting an athlete. The Garrett and this individual were going for a record at the meet. So you end up, meeting some other kids, and just makes for some neat connections.
The state meet, I had Kaylee and Garrett talk a little bit about it, but it's hosted here in Clay Center. It's the 4A state meet. It's a big meet, and it is one that I said this to them. Maybe people don't understand what the competitions are like. This is a great chance to come see a lot of different athletes, and maybe ones they've seen in other sports doing something a little outside their comfort zone.
That's what's really neat about it. You might have heard about the athlete in a fall sport or maybe somebody in basketball or wrestling, and then you get a chance to see them in a different environment. So that's always been a pretty neat part of it. We generally have 320 or so athletes, 30 or 40 different schools represented in it. We generally have over 1,200 people through the doors that day. So I hope it's a great event for Clay Center, too, to bring people in. And hopefully it's good for our community and good PR for our school.
Garrett and Kaylee kind of broke down their weight classes a little bit. Garrett mentioned Baser Linwood, the Power. They've won it several years in a row. Can you guys make a run at them?
Hope to. They bring up to 100 athletes to it, and it's just kind of a different animal. I mean, and I'd love to get, we were talking a little bit about the Patriots or Bama, as dominant programs, and Baser Linwood has pretty much been that in powerlifting. But then you also look at how well they do in all their male and female sports, direct correlation to what they're doing, so it's a different environment. We've had a good shot at them. We were state runner-up a few years back. If we can get our numbers up, we hope to be one of the top teams in the meet.
Well, good luck in the meets still remaining and, of course, in the state meet here in Clay Center. We really do appreciate the time and the work that your athletes are putting in.
You bet. Thank you.
The Twin Valley Locker Room Show and Clay Center Tiger Powerlifting.